Good afternoon. My name is Whitney Stepgay, and I'm Assistant General Counsel for the university. If I look here, is that looking there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Assistant General Counsel for the university, and super happy to be here with you all today. I know Dr. McKinney said that she had mentioned earlier that I'm the person who doesn't want to know your name while you're here, and that's somewhat true. I generally only get to interact with our learners when something's gone wrong. So I appreciate the time to be proactive with you all and hopefully prevent any of you from becoming cautionary tales that end up on our PowerPoint. So why are you here? Kind of giving you a summary of that. I know you're sitting there wondering, we've made it this far, and you're putting us through a presentation on professionalism and integrity. Are you kidding? But unfortunately, semester after semester, we get residents who find themselves facing consequences for unprofessional behavior, and we don't want any of you all to become one of those residents. This program is going to get stressful. It's the nature of the journey you are taking in your professional career. And when it does get stressful, I want you all to remember today, remember the resources that are available at the university that you were learning about today. Please do not struggle in silence. I want to say 99.9% of the time, a lot of the things that we're facing from learners that put them in my inbox or make them my concern could have been prevented had they just not suffered in silence. So please don't come this far to end up dismissed. With that being said, here are a few examples just in the last, I'll say 3.5, 4 years of situations that I've had to deal with involving learners, whether it be a resident or a fellow. These are not made up. These are all issues that I have personally had to deal with. Fabrication or forgery, that includes FMLA documents. That's the most recent one I can think of, a resident who claimed they were taking FMLA and he got it signed by a doctor who actually had not signed it. He signed it himself. And of course, we found out when the doctor was consulted and said he had no idea who this person was. You can imagine that's grounds for dismissal. Letters of recommendation, verifications, we all know that has to go through GME, the appropriate resources. Do not forge that information. Slapping a fellow resident, or just anyone really, please keep your hands to yourself, particularly in the OR. Yeah, I see your faces. It happened. I like it better when I can see their faces. Using inappropriate language with colleagues and faculty and patients, nurses, really anyone who you encounter. Remember, you are a representation of the University of Kentucky, so everything you do could come back to us. Taking credit for another learner's research, that should be common sense, right? We're not taking credit for anyone's work on our resume, and we think they'll never find out. We find out. Stalking a prior romantic partner, again, it doesn't matter if you're stalking your boyfriend who lives in Jersey. If there's something going on criminally that gets on our radar, that can factor into your professionalism and your ability to remain in the program, okay? Drugging a partner or roommate, again, can't make this up. I don't know if you all have seen Dumb and Dumber. If you haven't, you should watch it one weekend when you literally have nothing else to do. But there's a scene where, one of them puts Visine in the other one's water. He does it as a joke because he's going on a date and he doesn't want him to enjoy the date. And it's all fun and games in the movie, but that's literally a form of poisoning. It can kill somebody. It can seriously injure somebody. And it did in fact do that. And the person who did that is not licensed, obviously. I'm not sure what they're doing now, but it is not in the medical profession. Breaching patient confidentiality, making contact with patients. My best example here would be a learner who was patient facing, the patient leaves, he gets the patient's cell phone number out of the file and decides to personally check up on her to make sure she's doing okay. So obviously that is not permitted. Dishonesty regarding your working hours. Please be honest about the amount of time you were spending working. There's a reason why those caps are there or they exist within your respective programs. It's on you as well as it's on faculty and preceptors to keep up with that. If you know you are being overworked, it could be unintentional or if it's intentional, whatever the case may be, please make sure you are reporting that. Again, that is on you as much as it's on us to make sure you are not overworking. And then abusing illegal substances goes without saying, and I was here for the prior presentation. There are resources. There are resources. You having a problem is not grounds for us to say, okay, you're out of here. You having a problem that allows you to get out of character or to put patients in harm's way, or to be irrational in your day-to-day interactions with folks, that is grounds to get you out of here. So again, do not struggle in silence. And then taking photographs or videos of fellow learners without their knowledge or consent, that is a newer one that I've recently dealt with. I tell people, yes, we are a one-party state, meaning that you can call me and you can record me without telling me you are recording me. To this day, I have no idea why anyone thinks that's effective in forming trust or relationships with your colleagues. I can't stop you from doing that. However, if you are found to be recording people without their consent, particularly when they're like in the restroom, potentially, that is obviously grounds for some kind of corrective action. So governing documents, please review these before you start. Okay, don't wait till something happens to say, wait, what am I supposed to do if I get this notification? Or wait, why am I not permitted to get in a fight in Florida and come back here like nothing happened? What do you mean I can't hit a pole and leave? That was in Canada. You need to make sure you understand the principles that govern you here when you are in this program govern you regardless if you're on our campus or at one of our locations or not. Okay, the GME handbook is updated annually. Spend a lot of time updating that, keeping it up to date with the law and the expectations of the program. Please make sure you have reviewed that in totality. I'll be honest, the Healthcare College's Code of Student Professional Conduct, or HCC, as you'll hear it referred to, is under construction. I would still know that it does exist, but if you're reading that GME handbook and you have that covered, you should be good there, because those are consistent in theory. And then, of course, any policies or procedures that come down while you're in the program, right? So laws change every day. We have seen that in recent months. Make sure that if something comes down, a policy or procedure, that you review that, okay? If there's a revision that we have to make to a policy, you don't get to say, well, in the handbook at orientation, it said this. Well, that policy was emailed 2 months later, and you were told that was going into effect as of, so-and-so date. So just make sure you're staying up to date on that. Any questions about interpretations of any of these policies, you can come to me, or you can go directly to leadership in GME. The appeal procedure, this is the most important policy, I think, that gets triggered as far as my role with GME and the College of Medicine generally. If there's any formal academic action against you, such as probation, suspension, non-promotion, dismissal, termination, you have grounds to appeal those decisions. Please make sure you review that policy and you know how much time do you have to appeal, what does that process look like, what are my due process rights throughout that process. And that is found in the GME handbook. And again, updated every year. So as you go through, when you're your second year, it might not be the same policy in your first year. Make sure you're reviewing that annually. And I will just add, it's not because we want to confuse you all, it's because the law changes. And when the law changes, we have to revise our policies to reflect the change in the law. Okay, so we're not just changing it every year to be jerks. Professionalism and academic judgment. I like to share this case, a few cases really. This is the most recent case that deals with, what due process is afforded to medical residents when they are dismissed or when any type of formal action is issued against them that affects their position in their residency. So Mares was an OBGYN resident. She had a long series of complaints and escalating disciplinary matters, all rooting from unprofessional behavior. So she's suing because the medical school finally dismissed her. This was, I think, in her 6 of 7 years. The residency might be 7 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's OBGYN is 6 or 7 years. I think she was in her last year. I know she was in her last year when they dismissed her. So all throughout her residency, she would have issues. They would give her a notice. She'd clean it up a little bit, get off probation. Then a few months later, issues again. So there was a pattern of, I'll act right for a little bit, but I'm not going to consistently show you that I have what it takes. Finally, I want to say at the end of her 5th year, they say, okay, we're going to promote you on probation, but if we have any more issues with your professionalism, you're out of here. She has 3 more issues of professionalism that all kind of came in the same week. She's dismissed. She loses her appeal at the university level and she sues. This is a 6th Circuit case, and the court said, we are going to defer to the university. We are judges. We are practitioners of law. We are not here to determine if a doctor is prepared to independently practice. That is the university's role. That is your preceptor's role. That's not our role. So if they say you aren't fit, we're deferring to the academic institution. Okay. So I like to point that out because month after month. Well, I won't say month after month. I just told Amy that we had a really good year. But every time something happens, the learner says, well, I'm going to get a lawyer and I'm going to sue you because this punishment is too harsh. I'm in my last year of residency and I'm the smartest person here. Who cares that I can't get along with anybody? Who cares that nobody wants to work with me? I'm the brightest resident and this is too close to the end for you to do this. It's too harsh. And I'm going to say, sorry, it's not too harsh. You were on notice and we've already extended you due process. And the court's going to say, yep, she's right. The university wins. Okay. Here's further proof. Courts have frequently held that an academic dismissal may be properly based on more than simply grades. I'll say that again, more than simply grades and more vaguely, more than just performance clinically, right? More than just your medical knowledge, particularly in a medical professional context. And that's right out of the University of Louisville. But again, Sixth Circuit, which is where we are, that's the court that will govern us, their decisions. This court has held on multiple occasions that dismissal for unprofessional behavior in medical education constitutes an academic decision. What does that mean? That means we only have to afford minimal due process, because it's an academic action and not a disciplinary action. There are laws in place that if we dismiss you from the university for a violation of the student code because you got in a fight at, I don't even, Two Keys, which I don't even know if anyone still goes there. That is a behavioral, we're dismissing you because of your conduct. It was in violation of your conduct. Now, are there potentially some professionalism issues? Obviously. But in that case, you would get a full-blown hearing through the Office of Student Conduct, right? Well, where this professionalism aspect is academic judgment, we don't have to give you a hearing. We review the behaviors. We give you notice of the behaviors. Tell you need to fix it. Here's how you can fix it. If you don't fix it, we have grounds to move forward with whatever it is that we think fits, I'll say the crime, but you know what I mean, fits the offense, okay? We do not have to give you a hearing. Dismissal on professionalism grounds amounts to a deference receiving academic judgment for several reasons that I've already explained. And then just reinforcing it, another case, out of Tennessee, again, Sixth Circuit, students dismissed for academic reasons are afforded only minimal due process protections. Okay, in these situations, a student is entitled only to notice that his or her academic performance was not satisfactory and a careful and deliberate decision regarding their punishment. Okay, but the university need not provide a hearing. Any questions there? Good deal. Not a few more, really, it's just one more. I put this in here because it relates to ADA accommodations, which is something we're seeing more of. And I think that's great because I do not believe that, if you have a disability or you have something that can be accommodated, you can still reach your goal of being a physician. That is amazing, and we're going to respect that. However, having an accommodation does not give you a right to, again, put our patients in harm's way or be disrespectful to people. So if accommodations are in place and you still can't quite fit the bill, that does not stop us because you have an accommodation from moving forward with any type of formal academic action. And this is a good case. We don't have any out of the Sixth Circuit, but I think we're pretty in line with the Fourth Circuit about how it would turn out. So Hallburn attended Wake Forest and the Doctor of Medicine program from July 2004 till March 2009. Diagnosed with ADHD and anxiety disorder, took medications for treatment, had some challenges with professionalism after he began attending the medical school and continued throughout his enrollment. There was mistreatment of staff, unexplained absences, poor interpersonal skills were reported. These are all things we've dealt with, folks, all things we've dealt with from folks who would not seek help or get the accommodations you need, right? So he failed his first rotation because of the lapses in professionalism. In 2007, he finally completed 10 rotations successfully, but he had been on probation and therefore he had a remediation plan throughout that time. In November of the same year, he had another lapse in professionalism, and the SPPC committee, which for residents is generally the CCC, recommended dismissal. The resident appealed, he lost, he then sued, and he lost again. You all see the pattern? Appeal, or formal action goes into place, appeal, lose the appeal at the university, sue, lose again. And I guarantee they spent at least $15K on the attorney who handled this. I think on average, attorneys are charging like $5,000 to do these appeals, even when they know it probably doesn't have a good, it's most likely not going to be overturned. So although the court found that disabilities warranted protection under ADA and 704, the court accorded substantial deference to the school's professional judgments concerning required qualifications and reasonableness of accommodations. It determined that professionalism was a critical component of the medical school's program and that in the absence of an accommodation, he could not meet this requirement. So even though he completed 10 rotations while on the remediation plan on probation, the court cited considerable evidence of his unprofessional behavior. So it was upheld. Of course, he did in his response say, look, I know I've been struggling, but what if I do this? What if I go get inpatient treatment? What if I do? And he'd already been referred to inpatient treatment and refused to go. So that goes back to don't struggle in silence, because we are going to offer resources to try to help and make sure you are successful. We have hired professional coaches. We have, worked around the curriculum so that you could go to treatment, whatever the case may be. But he said no to all of this. And then as soon as, he's about to get dismissed, he's ready to do all the things he can do to not get dismissed. Please don't be Ronan, right? I make the excuse of, once the handcuffs are on, or handcuffs, okay. Once the handcuffs are on, now I'm ready to comply. No, that's not how this works. Okay, be proactive. Let's not wait till we're there to start grasping at straws to stay here. All right, let's not end up in that situation. Key takeaways: treat professionalism like a core competency, because guess what? It is. It is one of your core competencies. Professionalism is core to medical training. The courts have said it. We believe it. Be respectful to all staff. Again, you are always being observed. Even your social media. It hurts my heart that we still have to talk about the fact that when you put something on the internet, it's out there. Okay, please be careful of what you put out there. You are professionals. Everyone can have an opinion. Everybody doesn't have to know your opinion about everything. Okay, particularly when you're representing someone else. So when you're in your official capacity, you definitely need to understand that no one cares about your opinion. All right, especially if it's going to trigger something controversial. Just keep it to yourself. My husband always tells me if something happens and you just have to say something, just text me the status. Like, there's no need for you to update Facebook. So find your filter, find the person who will tell you it's not worth it. Take that down. It's not worth it. Don't say it. I think the best thing ever for me, well, I won't say that. I have my hesitation about AI, but one place where I feel like it helps me when I have to deliver bad news to a student who I believe is already fragile, or if I have to respond to an email to a colleague who I think is kind of being a jerk, but I need to stay professional. I will draft my email and then ask ChatGPT, does this sound empathetic? Can you make this sound a little more empathetic? Can you work on my tone here? And I'm doing that after I won't tell you how many years of practicing law. So don't hesitate to ask, look, can you just review this? Do you think this sounds okay? All right, because when we're in these stressful situations, we're not always thinking about how we're going to come across. And the impact of what you say matters regardless of your intention. Okay, avoid emotional outbursts. Goes with what I pretty much just said. Showing up on time. Promptly keeping your notes, updating charts on time, communicating clearly if something's not going to happen on time. Read the code of conduct. We said that. Know what you are being evaluated on, okay, before day one. Understand the chain of command and how to escalate things safely and professionally. Show responsiveness and humility. And then just take care of your mental health, Freudian slip. Take care of your mental health, and asking for help is not unprofessional. Okay, it is proactive and it is wise. Are there any questions for me? That's my direct line and my email address. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. But you all have great folks in GME here to guide you. So I'm confident I will not see anyone from this bunch of folks in my office. And that's all I have, no questions.